Welcome to the General's Gentleman.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to an interview. This is a little bit different, kind of cool. So, joining me today is Miragefla. Some of you may know him. He is the host of, well, the author rather, of the Competitive Edition mod. And he's also been playing throughout the ESL North America for Company of Heroes 2. So, hello Miragefla.
Hello, everyone.
And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm currently unemployed, which is why I have so much time to work on a mod, but I'm a major RTS player. I've been playing RTS games since pretty much the age of 5. My first RTS game was actually Force Commander for Star Wars, and I've been moving on from there. And my first real RTS game that I played competitively, I would say, would be Command & Conquer 3, moving on to Red Alert,
Oh, nice.
Company of Heroes, and the rest of those games.
Yeah, I know
That's when I started playing 1-1s.
in yesterday's stream, like, everyone was just, like, fanboying over Red Alert 3, and we were playing Red Alert 3 music during a Company of Heroes 2 stream. It was pretty funny.
Yep. I'm pretty sure every time someone sees me in the chat of ESL, I will usually at least one time during that chat say Red Alert 3 was the best balanced RTS game ever.
I don't know about balance, but it was certainly a very well-designed CNC game, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, it was an RTS game where pretty much everything worked, or at least all the units worked to the extent of what they were supposed to do, rather than having units that, well, fell out of use because they weren't part of the meta or weren't particularly strong.
It was well designed, but either way, we are here to discuss not Red Alert 3, as much as I do love talking about CNC. We're here to discuss his mod, Competitive Edition mod, and that's why I really wanted to do this interview, because I think the mod is fantastic. It makes Company of Heroes 2 so enjoyable, but it's not very played that much. You know, either people don't know about it or they just can't be bothered. It's like, it's always easier just to click auto match 1v1 rather than like getting a mod going, but it does definitely improve the gameplay quite a fair bit. So why don't you like tell us about Competitive Edition mod? Like, how would you explain it to someone?
Well, Competitive Edition mod could be seen as a rebalancing of units, but also the reduction of RNG in the game, in particularly in things like mines, where they could destroy engines previously in the current build, as well as the fact there's a ton of RNG regarding things like mines, where if you run into them, depending on your squad spacing, you'll get automatically wiped, even if you're at full health, and I don't think any player likes that in particular. Furthermore, there's also a few tech changes to give the factions a little bit more variety, mainly the US forces and Over Commando West, who are lacking key assets, mainly in indirect fire or suppression tools. And yeah, I think that was mainly it.
Yeah, it's certainly fun. Like, you do get the mortar on tier 0 is US, which is it's so fun to use there. The MG34 is on the HQ for OKW. It's gives you a lot more tools to play with, and then those are tools that you know, I feel like really should have been there from the start, because they do open the flexibilities for the factions, give more strategy and stuff to play with. So yeah, that's a good way of explaining it, because I feel like if anyone's been watching ESL, they really will appreciate these issues. In particular, the mines. You know, like mining doorways.
You mean the nickname we gave to them?
Love Nest mines. Yeah, you put a mine on a door, and it like basically.
It's even worse when you're facing Soviets. They'll just put tripwire mines at your door and instant wipe you for 10 munitions.
Yeah, and if you pop Jaegers or something, they blow up. I actually have a question before we go on.
Yep.
So, like, rather than like necessarily nerfing mines, is it possible to change the way that that units enter and exit doorways?
I'm not exactly sure on that. It's something I haven't tested myself. I don't think there's a different way of exiting, because it's the same for half-tracks. All units will exit following the first model out. So I'm not exactly sure on that.
Because it not only is it bad for clumping, because squads get wiped, and not even just mines, but also, like, you know, when you evacuate a door just as a mortar shell lands, and then you lose
Everyone
the entire
dies.
squad. Yeah, it's just quite frustrating. Like, what would be great?
I'm not sure if you can make it where it goes like one model interval, second, next model. I'm not sure if you can actually do that.
Yeah.
Or not.
Also, like, you can't really use grenades to clear garrisons, because you can just instantly enter and exit garrisons.
Yeah.
So I
we all
feel
know that.
yeah. So it's quite frustrating. Like, they work against grenades. They work against MGs, but I think that would be a good change. But that's a little bit off topic anyway. So
Right.
so back to the questions at hand here. So, is Competitive Edition mod, is it the first mod you've ever worked on, whether it's Company of Heroes or any other RTS games?
I guess it started when I first picked up the mod tools, but I kind of put off on that because, you know, Kappa patch came out. This was back when Cruz was very active in the community. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can all remember that. Then I started doing my own mod things, mainly designing and creation of factions of my own and trying to balance that. But of course, since the mod tools don't allow the addition of models or sounds, I can only get so far using Company of Heroes 2 for like a futuristic setting. But anyways, that's really all I've really worked on for modding.
Cool. So what motivated you to actually start working on competitive edition mod? Like, how did you start getting into it?
Well, I've been constantly having ideas, and I constantly post on the balance forum of companyofheroes2.org. I often put a large list, explain my changes, why it should happen, why I want these changes, and what good it would do. Ooh, and I just started thinking, especially after the December patch with the Oberkommando rework, I was thinking, maybe I should actually start doing something with this and put something together. I keep talking about these changes, but I never put them into action.
Yeah, I think it's a great way of showcasing actual changes. It's kind of like a beta in a sense. It's like a testing grounds to prove the validity of a change. Like, you know, here's an idea. Well, but like everyone has their ideas, but it's like, but here's an idea, and here's the data to back it up. You know, here's it in action. This is what it looks like. It's fun for gameplay. It's a good way of promoting good ideas and actually showcasing it out to people to witness firsthand. Because yeah, forum posts only get you so far. Okay, so other than that, then how can someone actually download and play competitive edition mod?
Well, to pick up the competitive edition mod, it's quite simple. You can go to the Company of Heroes 2 Steam Workshop page and look up the competitive edition mod. Currently, the balance number is version 0.24, and you can easily just subscribe to that, and you'll be able to play it in custom matches later on. I think you can also subscribe while you're in game, and then get yourself the mod there and just have it available, ready to go.
Yeah, you have to restart the game though, don't you?
I don't think so. I know I've managed to pick up some maps from the workshop while even in game.
Oh, okay. Cool. And there's also a Steam group, I believe.
Yeah, it's a very small Steam group, but there is it's called Coh2 Competitive Edition group. It's open to the public, so anyone can join that.
Yep. So you have to play custom games with someone, and then in the options, you just change the mod to competitive edition mod, and then you can play that one and see for yourself. And down the line, I think you said in one of our chats earlier that you were planning on running a tournament for it once ESL finishes. Is that true?
Well, maybe not when ESL finishes. Maybe I'll set it on a Saturday or so. Oh, but it also depends. I need to get fun. Well, I should probably just use my own money for it. Won't be much, probably like $50 to $100. There's a small tournament, similar format to ESL, so quick games for the first few matches, then they extend the longer you go, because it's really best to get. I wouldn't say to go for a very long tournament with all these changes, especially since it's all new to everyone. Of course, it does need feedback and all, but I don't really want to exhaust the players. It's to the very point where they may just be going back to tired and true strategies, especially.
Yeah, I think tournaments are a great way of showcasing balance. And it's the same for ESL in the regular Company of Heroes too, but same for a tournament. If people are playing to win, you know, they will find the best strategies and find all the OP stuff and really abuse it. So
penal spam, it's everywhere.
Yeah. It is penals. Oh. Yeah, penals are pretty crazy in the mod. They have lots of long range damage, but they also have a PPSH flamer upgrade, which makes them close range combat, which is pretty cool.
The only disadvantage of them is they start really bleeding the Soviet player later on if they don't start merging conscripts, just because they're very glass cannon-y in terms of their veterancy.
Yeah, I think it's a great design for the new penals, because currently they overlap far too much with conscripts.
Yeah,
so
both are close range fighters. There's both want to be blasting troops out of garrison, and so our penals don't have the anti-tank grenades, so their utility kind of wanes off later on, as things like Maxims, Guard, Shocks, or whatever starts carrying the fighting for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's certainly true. So, other than that, like, where do you hope the mod will go, and what are the plans for the future of it?
Well, what I'd hope the mod would go is, well, the most basic would be letting, like, at least take note of the changes and maybe put a few of those in. And that's really all I could hope for.
Yeah, there's so many changes I would love to see in the proper game. And I know for a fact that your mod has been forwarded to Relic, so they are...
I know a few people have done that.
Yeah, they're certainly aware of your existence, but it's a bit more complicated than them just being, oh, these are nice changes, click click, okay, it's in the game now. They do have like some processes that you know, they have to kind of streamline their changes, which
I do like to think the Vickers time change on the Bren carrier was thanks to me.
the what, sorry?
Oh, they did a change in, where they changed the Vickers to be a timed ability on the Universal carrier.
Oh,
I like to
okay.
pretend that was me.
Cool.
Since I did put that in my mod.
Right, okay, sweet.
Before they posted that.
Cool, okay. So, now, you kind of did briefly mention this earlier, but how do you feel about the mod tools for Company of Heroes 2, and Relic's attitude towards the modding scene?
Well, in terms of modding, I think for like things like the attributes, it's pretty easy to use and it's nice, but in terms of like adding actual content, note that I don't know anything about scripting, so I can't talk about this, but in terms of models, sound, textures for said models, it's very limited. You can't add anything to the game outside of what's currently in the game. So you won't be seeing things like, well, I guess Hitzer with 75mm Hellcats. You won't be seeing those World War II mods. Nor will you be seeing anyone take their creative ideas and making something else out of the mod. So, say, hey, I think I mentioned it, but a futuristic mod using the Company of Heroes 2 engine.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. And a great example of this is the mortar that you put in for the US. It's kind of a cheap mortar. It's
supposed to be the US 60mm mortar. That's pretty much it's more attuned to, but we only have the 81mm mortar, so that's why I have to use for the mod.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a bit unfortunate, because Company of Heroes 1, it was known for its massive modding scene. Even to this day, there's still people working on some great mods, like Total Conversions, a World War I mod. There was a Modern Warfare mod. I saw screenshots of someone doing a Star Wars mod, but that's still in production. So there is so much potential for modding in Company of Heroes, and there has been realized in Company of Heroes 1, but Coh2, unfortunately, it just it doesn't have that. And I think you explained that quite well, is that it's because you can't add new things in. So all it really is, the mods that you see in Coh2, it's people putting in things that are already in the game. As well as then just changing like the resources and things like that.
I will say that I hope Relic maybe allows us to add things like models in, because they already did that skin contest. I don't remember the name, but they recently did that. Maybe later on they could allow us to put like things like small additions to models, so we'll have like, I don't know, Grenadiers have backpacks or something that someone just adds in as cosmetic items. Yeah,
that was one thing about Coh1 that I really liked as well, is not necessarily like mods, but the fact that you could actually change things which would affect the main game. Like, for example, I was always a fan of the native voice acting. So I had my German speaking German and my American speaking English, which was cool.
American speaking American, Deutschland speaking Deutschland.
Yeah, and the problem with Coh2 is you can't actually do that. Like, the only way you can change that is by setting your Steam language to German, but then you have Americans.
Else is German.
Yeah, you can't have it individually. And in Coh1, it wasn't like a setting. It was still like, you know, tweaking files, which was maybe a bit more cumbersome than it had to be. But things like that, like, I think players should have the opportunity to do so, whether it's just a setting in game that says native voices tick, or at least having the options to change that. And actually, originally you were able to. When Coh2 first came out, you could actually mod in native languages.
Oh yeah, because that was before they put up all the barriers, I think. I'm not sure what it was for. Maybe prevent hacking?
No, it was.
Exactly sure.
And it wasn't necessary, because there was actually a fair bit of hacking back then. If anyone remembers Raz, yeah, there was. I don't know if it was like Fog of War hacks, but there was certainly exploits that could be used, and basically they had to prevent players from having as much freedom with modding in order to prevent cheating.
Secure the game, essentially.
Yeah, and then it's kind of it's one of those grey areas where it's like, is it worth it? Because, you know, cheating is bad. I would rather not have cheating than what I would rather have customization. But at the same time,
with the workshop, we can do more with it.
Yeah.
Later on,
having the option to cater to both worlds would be fantastic. But also skins as well. In Coh1, you could change like what units looked like change the logos. You could change like the sounds.
Yeah, I saw a lot of casts with realistic skins.
Yeah,
I think.
So that was pretty cool.
It'd also give me an excuse if they added it later on for me to do a bit of voice acting for the game.
Oh yeah. I remember you posted a video. It was like you voiced a tank of some kind.
Yeah, I think that was me voicing the M26 Pershing for the Americans on their
Yeah,
side.
yeah. Even though that you're actually Canadian, you do certainly sound American.
I'm on the West Coast. I think I sound close enough to those Californians down south, or guys in Oregon.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Okay, well, next question. So, what do you feel is the best designed faction in Company of Heroes 2, and what do you think's the worst, and why?
Well, I'm pretty sure everyone said this last time. It's austere simply because they have yes, it's a linear Tekken system, but pretty much all their stuff, well, in a sense, works in a sense of it's not that powerful alone, but it works in a very... Let me rephrase that. Wehrmacht is probably the best designed faction as they rely the most on combined arms, making them vulnerable when alone, but also best used when they diversify their options. As for worst faction, well, I actually don't think there's a worst designed faction. I know you don't particularly like Over Commander West, but I think they just need a few changes and they'll be on their way because I just like the idea that one Untruck provides you with the ability to go to fast light armor. The other one gives you a more defensive option to dig in. And of course, the forward retreat point is a bit of an issue. It's always been an issue in this game, but I just need a few other changes, I think, in the game to settle forward retreat points, like buffing indirect fire for the Americans or well, I guess Brits, but yeah, American and Brits could use stronger indirect fire to dislodge the forward retreat point.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. I think Austere or Wehrmacht as I call them because that's what they're like actually called. Like I think
who doesn't call them austere?
Yeah, everyone does, but like I like as a caster, like I do try and say things that are correct, not to like throw people off, because otherwise people are like, what? Who's Austere? They're basically like Wehrmacht. Yeah, combined arms is what Company Hero is really all about, and it's what makes it the most fun. And Wehrmacht is a faction that it embraces the combined arms. But also, I think the way that the teching structure works. I know it's your interview, but I guess I love ranting about my opinions. But like, yeah, the way that they like the units are all accessible. Like you can build any unit. Like the only argument is you know maybe tier 4 is a bit too hard to get, but at the same time it's very strong if you can get there. But say if you compare it to Soviets,
I'll counter that and say tier 4 is not actually very strong, but that's my opinion. It's only there for the Panzerwerfer.
Yeah, Panzerwerfer is pretty OP, but it's the fact that like if you want to build a sniper, you can build a sniper. Whereas if you're Soviets, it's like, well, I can't build a sniper. I built tier 2, and also the fact that they have all the tools that they need. You know, where US lacking a mortar, for example. So I think I would love to see more factions embrace the Wehrmacht kind of playstyle, and I think that's kind of what your mod has done, giving those factions tools to all of those tools to have the combined arms, the mortars.
I think the factions should all have like the specific tools, like, you know, indirect fire, suppression, and all that. But how they access them, I think it can... I don't really mind if it's not linear, because it does go with the interesting path, like I said, with the penals. If you go lock into tier 1, then you're not relying less on support weapons and relying on the idea that you're getting hard-hitting infantry from the tier 1 on building, because as well, you're very invested in that, so you should get something very powerful from that building.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of giving each faction tools, I know that the one thing that you haven't done is you haven't given OKW, US, and Brits like infantry-based flamers. Is that something that you plan on, or how do you feel about that?
I'm not exactly sure, because then we'd have to, you know, change up a few doctrines. You got the rifle company with the rear echelon flamers, then you know, the Fear Storm, or however you want to call it, that has the Stern Pioneer flamers. Whereas you'd have to change up those abilities, and I think that rather than adding flamers, you could, you know, like with the US mortar, you now have an option to dislodge garrisons with the US mortar, simply by either by smoking them off or bombing them to rubble. Or Brits, well, I think the buffs need to go and roll the universal carrier. That unit's not actually seen a lot, and I would like to see it using more, so I have been doing buffs to it to either be more useful as a support unit or make its flamer a bit more powerful in terms of range, so it won't have to be as close to help clear garrisons for the Brits. Furthermore, it's a bit cheaper, so it's more accessible for the Brits as well.
Yeah. Yeah, like with the OKW MG34, what he's actually done is he's replaced the call-in with an MG42. So it still makes the doctrines worth using, but as you said, like, yeah, adding in flamers, you would certainly have to modify other things. And it's like the domino effect. You make one change, but then that change relies on other changes. And like I'd imagine that would be a very delicate part of modding is trying to balance everything out and making.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of broken stuff in the mod that I haven't managed to test out with other people yet.
Yeah, it requires a lot of testing, and that's why you know, everyone should go give it a go. Join the Steam group, hit Miragefla for some games. You know, the more people play it, the more fine-tuned it gets, and it's just fun
just
to play.
Just a note that there is a bit of issue of publishing updates on the mod. I've been telling you this, or I think I have. Essentially, the current main version that's revealed to the public is not actually the main version of the mod, because I can't actually update it manually. Yeah, I've been having to, you know, I call it version 2.25b, which I managed to send over to you. It was essentially, I restrict that to the friends and limited if people, mainly because I want to update the main part of the mod to the current version, but I don't think it's a good idea for me to have like 2 to 3 different mod files until Relic fixes the issue with their Steam updating process as for the workshop.
Right, okay, fair enough. So would you suggest that someone like add you on Steam if they want to play with you?
Yeah, if they want to play the changes that I'm working on currently that are going to be upcoming, I have a lot of them that are coming up from version 2.4. Oh great, my mind's breaking down. But yeah, I do have quite a few more changes that are currently not in the present build of the mod that's available to the public. Cool. Just friend me on Steam, give me a game request now, and if I'm there, I should be able to give you the newest edition and could go for a few games.
Cool, awesome. So Miragefla, Miragefla. That's Miragefla, right? That's what your Steam is?
Yeah, Miragefla.
Cool.
I think that name came because of a mistake while making an account.
Mirage Flak, you said, right? From Red Alert 3?
Yeah, it was supposed to be Mirage Flak because I was uncreative while playing Red Alert 2. and I just couldn't fit in the K, so I ended up with Mirage Flak.
Awesome. Okay, so next question, as we're approaching the end of this little interview. So how do you feel about the ESL Cups for Company of Heroes 2?
I think ESL reveals like some of the greatest drawbacks of certain factions. I'm pretty sure like in every Oz tier game you're going to see snipers, or if you're fighting Brits, you're going to see Oz trooping. And you generally, the Oz tier players will be locking into things like Pumas and command tanks to help counter, or the early light allied armor, simply because Oz tier doesn't have a mobile counter to those units, as they're locked into either immobile packs or spending their munitions on expensive Panzergrins. Or you're looking at a faction like Soviet, you generally only see tier 2 because tier 1's too much of a risk and doesn't really provide enough. You can't just go on conscripts alone. Snipers are very vulnerable, and well, Pinos aren't that great, aside from the most urban maps in those games.
Yeah, so I think it's a bit unfortunate that they haven't patched it yet. Like, ESL's great, but it's starting to get a little bit monotonous, where the same players...
Oh yeah, and there's the AEC timing issue where it can, if it's really rushed for it, can arrive for the 5 minutes before some factions have their tier 2 or anti-tank units out. Yeah,
fair enough. Okay, so if you could only change one thing, if you were to have any one change in Company of Heroes 2, what would it be?
Oh god, there's so many things I want, but I can only have one?
Hard, isn't it?
Killing me here.
Yep.
I think mine would be make mines not instant kill full health squads.
Nice.
Or actually, no, mines do not cause heavy engine damage.
Yeah.
50% for general purpose mine to kill your engine, and even that pretty much only M20 mines or Regal mines are designed to do. That's kind of a kick in the face to those anti-tank mines.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so any last words or anything else you'd like to mention?
Well, can mention that I do have a YouTube channel. I'm not exactly URL, but if you just search up Miragefla, well, you should be able to find on my channel. I do occasional casts on that game, throw up voice clips from the video game, as well as well, hopefully I'll be putting out a video about changes I have upcoming.
Cool. So I'll send a link in the description to your channel, and if I remember, an annotation as well. Thank you for joining me, Miragefla, and thank you for all your hard work making a pretty cool mod, which I hope works out well for you in the end, and I hope more people do play it, because it's pretty cool. Otherwise, we will go ahead and wrap this up, and I believe we're playing a game now, because I need to have like a footage to put in the background. Some footage.
Alright.
Cool.
Please subscribe to the General's Gentleman If you enjoy our content, you can support us at patreon.com/generalsgentlemen.